Okay. Okay, we are live. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another Saddle Fit Live with Jochen Schleese from Schleese Saddlery. We have half an hour. We're going to talk about all things saddle fit. So I'll let Jochen take it away and we'll get started.
All right. Shelby, today we want to talk about adjustable saddles, right?
Yeah.
What made you pick that topic?
I think that's like one of the most accessible ways for people to get proper saddle fit is with adjustable saddles, because otherwise it's kind of, I think once people buy one that can't be adjusted, like they're way less likely to get it refitted if it doesn't fit because of the cost.
That's right. I mean, the cost getting, like we talked about, cost before, with inflation we live in right now, it's super difficult to get anything organized these days, especially in the horse world.
Yeah.
Hay costs so much, care, the saddles, the saddle fitting. So the entire industry really changed to more and more adjustable saddle. I remember when I started in Canada in '86, people looked at me as if I was from Mars and not from Germany. They says,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about fitting this saddle? I thought we just throw it away and get another one, or we just put a pad on it." So of course, times have changed, and this is now almost 40 years since I came to Canada. And through social media, through webinars and live streams like you and I have done and other people have done, people are so much more educated. And finally, the industry says, maybe what Schleese is talking since 40 years, there is something to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought I keep sharing with you and your audience about adjustable saddle. So let's talk. I'm switched on my screen here. Let's talk about horses. And when horses grow up in nature, like in the herd, they graze for 17 hours.
Wow.
And they are walking 20 miles a day. Can you imagine you have to feed the horse for 17 hours? Ridiculous, right? And what stable and what barn can you have now a horse roaming so much free? So
It's almost impossible in most. Like the only reason I have it is because I do self-care and we just have our own field, but otherwise we'd be SOL.
Right. So when we take them out from the field, what can we do? Like you said already, we can have self-care. We can have them in open stalls, active stalls, and then what we need to do is we need to exercise these horses if we don't give them the chance to roam 20 miles. So when we ride horses, we do it because they are moving animals. These animals by nature need to move. And then when we ride them, we need to build their muscles to carry long-term extra weight, because in nature, that wasn't meant to be, that human or another animal sits on this animal for them to carry us and lug us around. So of course, there's 1,000 different training methods, and you describe that beautiful in your book. There's some kind ways and cruel ways, and there's misunderstood ways. But if we learn something from the old masters, with harmony and proper riding, which means build the back first and understand that the growth plates on the spine, they need time. They need time to grow up, and to develop. And when we buy, and we talk about saddles now, and when we buy a saddle that fits a young horse, that for sure won't fit. For sure not fit when he's developed. And then that's not it. If the horse is developed, then he has a little owie on his leg, or I can't ride because of, it.
This, that, or the other thing. Yeah, like whatever they do.
Wrong,
Abscess, just one day, and then they're three-legged lame. Yeah.
That's right. So now, as we know, muscle disappear 4 times faster than they appear. So if I rode for 4 months and I trained my horse, I'm so ahead of the game now. Now he has an abscess. Guess what? Now I have to wait in 4 weeks. All the muscles are gone.
Yeah.
Or I switch trainers, and there's one trainer believes to ride the horse like the horse B.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine how this saddle has to fit on horse B when you ride on the forehand upside down with the hindquarters underneath, way out? That saddle needs to fit like a banana, like a rocking saddle. And then he says, well, that sucks. My horse has a blown tendon. Now I healed, so I go to another trainer. So that trainer says, well, I believe on the old method, get the back up, haunches underneath, so they're light in front. All right, so now look at that back. So obviously we need to look, this long muscle where the saddle sits on can develop shitty, like Dr. Heuschmann and I, we've done many lectures together, and he points out to the riders, the way you sit in the saddle is absolutely important, and how you train the horse is absolutely important to the long-lasting life of your horse. Either you make it short or long. Another vet who I did clinics with, she calls herself from Holland, Dr. Karen Lieberbrand. Her method is the 4-dimension dressage. So all in all, no matter what you ride, stay off the minefields. These are trigger points, what makes a horse really, really angry. We talked about this several times, and we're looking forward that the horse moves the leg freely. So when the leg goes forward, okay, that scapula gets pushed from this upper arm upwards, backwards. So if my horse changes through time, okay, I need to have a saddle what I can adjust. How do I want to adjust it? Well, you can adjust it by keep buying new saddles. In the old days, they made saddles with a wood frame. And to this day, they make saddles with wood frame. They kind of look like this here, with steel reinforced. Yeah. But they are not meant to adjust. Okay? Let's say you have yourself butt casted like this young lady here, and you know exactly what seat you want. You picked 9 dimensions, which are so important to fit you. But what if the horse changed? But what if you did an awesome job, you trained this horse, and guess what? The horse is developing. Yay! All the money I paid the trainer paid off. The horse now is not in pain anymore. It's not, the thoracic sling is not on the forehand, right? He's actually lifted the shoulder. And then when that lifts, this gets wider, right? The shoulder gets wider. So if the shoulder gets wider and you don't adjust the tree, that tree is wood reinforced. Okay, this is a veterinarian who is talking about how important it is that the tree width, D-ring to D-ring, is wide enough. This is the shoulder blade underneath the muscles. She does a lot of dissection course all over the world and shows the importance of adjustable saddles. If not,
so cool.
This is the cartilage, what's all freaking damaged,
completely
destroyed. So we have veterinarians who talk about the horses use their muscles properly if the horse can move freely. And if you have a horse that has big shoulder blades and big muscles, how is that shoulder blade ever going to move if you cannot have a saddle that adjusts? What I always say, what bothers me with the whole saddle fitting, since I do saddle fitting, I always say, how can a horse move freely? Let me just take the tone off here. Move freely with the saddle on and all these muscles. We talked about this video numerous times. Remember, Shelley?
Yeah.
Right. But I keep like crazy. But you can see how these muscles contract and goes through it. And the bigger these muscles go, the worse it gets in terms of saddle fitting.
Yeah.
So if I ignore it, the saddle slides forward, goes on BL13, that's the lung meridian point. All of these points are super important when it comes to the respiratory health of the horse. CV17, girth, huge issue. So many people make all the efforts to make the horse happy, but they put such a bad girth on the horse sometimes. So if we look where the saddle sits, the cross section of the withers, where we see sometimes a lot of white hair. I know anatomy is boring, but
no, it's interesting.
I need to keep bringing this up. This long muscle, which I showed earlier, the longissimus dorsi. Okay, that is your friend. That's where the saddle needs to help. All these other guys, from Trapezius, spinalis, horses hate when you pinch them. Okay, so if I take this triangle shape, this here, right? This whole thing, what I'm talking here, what I'm moving. If I'm visualize this now in here, when the top line works and gets bigger, see the arrow gets wider there?
Yeah.
So this is what we call the tree width. And when the horse gets more mature, the upper arm, the shoulder blade comes further back, the whole scapular slopes is steeper. See how this is shallow?
Yeah.
And then this is flat and this is very steep. Okay, so that changes through training. So in saddle adjustments, the fitters have either a digital angle finder or this old tool here from 120 years ago.
Oh,
So they measure. See how wide this tree is from tree
yeah.
cut to tree cut?
That
This
one
is
almost looks like it's like made from a horseshoe. That's kind of cool that they still use tools that are that old.
Isn't it neat? And
Yeah.
just to reiterate how important it is that we make. I love that you compared that analogy of a horseshoe, because we have metal in the mouth and we got metal on the feet, and another metal is on the neck. So and this is why they've done this for 120 years, these tools, to make sure, hey, we got to get the angle right. And then of course, do we want to have a symmetric tree on a horse what has uneven bone structure, which is clearly not symmetric?
Yeah.
And it drives me up the wall from trainers, saddle makers, saddle fitters, physiotherapists to say, oh, we got to put a straight tree on it. If I put a straight tree on it, that saddle will kick over to the right, will damage the left shoulder. And we see it over and over and over in jumping and dressage. And they compensate by what? Kissing spine, right? Scoliosis in the spine, SI issue. Why can we not just accept if a horse or structural is big on one side, we have to fit this. This is why it's so crucial that you have an adjustable saddle, because if you do a good job, okay, and you make that top line nice and stretchy and get that stomach to contract the hind leg like horse A, okay,
Yeah.
and the horse gets more and more collection. If you are a Western rider who sliding stop, a jumping rider the horse needs to take off, he got to push off behind and get his hind leg underneath the sternum. That only means that the ligament is in full extension. He won't do that. He won't do that if you sit with your stupid saddle on the spine, either because you didn't adjust it symmetric or asymmetrically, or you didn't follow the growth pattern. Here's a growth pattern. Okay, so from the upper arm, this is the lower arm, this is the shoulder, the chest muscle, pectoralis muscle is where the rib cage hangs. And then from the top, from the shoulder, there's serratus. So this hammock, let's call it a hammock for a minute.
Yeah.
This is a tree and this is a tree. Okay, so if you sit on the hammock goes down, and if the tree is not strong, the tree falls in, right? But let's say you have a hammock between two strong trees and you're very heavy, okay? Then the band or the hammock will collapse. So that's why I want to ride like the A horse and not the B. I don't want to collapse in my hammock. I want to make the outside trees, the legs, come together on the bottom, so the back comes up. So if that training, good or bad rider or good rider, that training will happen either upside down, you heard that term before, right?
Yeah.
Or properly. So the horse will build muscles. We call that nature, physiology, physics, self-defense, whatever you want to call it. These will grow when you sit on the back. And you can see how the shoulder becomes more steeper, right? So they come wider and steeper. So the gullet plate, what sits where the withers is, behind the shoulder, sits over the trapezius and the longissimus or the latissimus. Okay, so these two muscles, the latissimus and the longissimus, remember that's that long, super strong muscle.
Yeah.
The trapezius is the muscle, which is, look at this, trapezius, very thin.
Yeah.
The spinalis. They hate that with a passion if you pinch the withers. Have you heard that term before, pinching the withers?
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't stand it. Look at how this saddle here pinches the withers. So where the saddle should sit, where the muscle is very strong, guess what? It's not even come close. So
Yeah.
that's horrible. This is good because it sits here and there's a little gap. Now
Yeah.
that can expand, because let's face it, if your horse is on the bit and the horse comes through the pole and he lifts his thoracic sling, these top lines expand. If you don't have room to expand, like on this one here, this is exactly the same as the bottom, same distance. The horse will not bring up his rib cage. He will not go soft through the pole. So this is just to tell you, Shelby, how ridiculous these saddle fitting schools are. Because one school says, make the tree fit like this. The other school says, make it like this. So imagine you're a saddle fitter and you're not a rider. Okay. Imagine nobody would tell you about the upside down muscles. Imagine somebody would say to you, oh no, it's good that you have a horse that has a U-neck. Oh yeah, he should stumble a lot and he should pull your reins out and he should be hanging in your reins. What rider loves that? Right? So if you say, no, I want a horse that lifts his leg. I want a horse that goes through the back, lifts his thoracic sling and get a nice big muscle. So if somebody tells me, if you're a tennis player and you play in a country where it's always cold and you always have to have jackets when you play, you want a jacket where your bicep contracts. When I serve, I need to bend my elbow and my bicep needs to contract. Imagine I have a strap on my bicep and I have to serve now. How am I going to serve a proper serve in tennis if my stupid jacket is too tight? Now, I was told like this until somebody told me the tennis story. And I said, oh my God, what an idiot I am. I'm a rider. Why did I not know that this top line, right? I want the horse to get a nice neck. That needs to develop. And if the trapezius, what goes up the neck, the splinalis, what goes up the neck, right? And the rhomboideus, what goes up the neck, they all go up the neck. Why in the world would I pinch that, right? So, and that's why I really, really feel strong about adjustable saddles. I got to be able to have a saddle what independently adjusts in the tree width and in the angle. This for the shoulders, this for the top of the neck. Now, of course, I could say, oh, I'm just a pleasure rider. I don't ever go to the Olympics. I just bumble fart around. Totally okay. Over 80% do that. That's fine. But even a horse what just goes for a happy hacker or just to have fun, never does dressage, loves humans, they love to be fed, and they tolerate weight on this muscle. Look at this void area right there. Can you see that?
Yeah, like the empty area there. Yeah.
Don't push
Don't
any
touch
weight
it.
on it. God, don't touch it, whatever you do. So here again, another picture of if the rib cage hangs down, the elbow and the sternum is there. If the horse gets ridden, self-defense, he wants to lift up his shoulder, otherwise he stumbles, right? But he needs to lift up his rib cage, and then so more you're right, so wider this goes, so steeper this goes, so wider this goes.
That's cool. That's a really cool image. Yes.
Yeah, I truly love that. And what I love about that is because it makes sense. It's not based on my opinion or your opinion. It's anatomy. How can you argue that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still people who believe the world is flat. I get it. I really believe they're kept in the dark ages, or they are under ulterior motives.
And when you've believed something for a long time, it can be hard to let go of that belief and admit that it's wrong. So yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? So if we look at the back, okay, so here you see a spine. This is a picture done at the University of Davis in California. the two vet techs hold the spine, and then they push it in the middle up.
That's so cool.
Horse wants to do that. When they graze, they do it. And when you on top, if their horse can do it, all these spines don't touch. And if that's happening, yay, the horse can move. So this here is when you have, I don't know if I showed you this before, but this is a very
yeah, I've seen this one. Yeah.
sad video, because here the back is locked. You see the U-neck there?
Yeah. And it's just not moving at all. Yeah.
No movement. This horse is galloping literally out of his fetlock.
Poor little thing.
This is like, oh my God, this exactly. So if we want to have saddles what can be adjusted, I always say stay off the clothespin fit. Okay? A saddle needs to be adjusted in the width of this panel. So the spine has these nerves. This is the multifidus muscle. That's why we need a nice wide channel. Okay? So don't get a saddle what is clothespin fit, because most people say, oh, I have a saddle what fits all the horse. I don't need to be adjustable. Yeah, those most of the time are saddles like this one here, what have super narrow channel and just hang off the spine. Okay? No horse has a spine this way.
Yeah, wow.
People say, whoa, I dissected a horse and look at this. Here's the bone of the horse's spine. Well, yeah, very narrow. But what's on the side?
Yeah.
I'm doing it right here. Let me just blow this up just to make it really, really clear how important this is. Okay, the multifidus muscle. Right? So this is, you cannot tamper with that.
Yeah.
And these little guys here, you don't want to sit on that. Okay, and then beside it comes the nerves out. So the distance from the nerve and this bone from here to here, average horse, that is 5 centimeters. So if your channel is only 2 centimeters wide, you're sitting completely on the spine. Never mind on that supraspinalis, the ligaments we talked about before, right? So for adjustable saddles, you can actually have saddles what can allow the freedom. It can give the horse the movement they need while they change. If not, tissue is softer.
Oof.
Tissue is softer than leather, than wool, stuffing, tree, right? So here you can see how this whole saddle completely atrophied the entire top line.
That's so awful. Yeah.
How many horses have you seen with this holding line?
A lot. And yeah, the hunter's bump too.
Oh, so often, right? So if we know the horse changes, how often you ride, what type of training, how you feed them, how good or bad your veterinary care is, tack. I mean, we talk about tacky. If you have shitty saddles, the horse will deform. If you have good saddles, the horse, when everything else fits good, will hopefully blossom. And I sure hope you understand the importance of adjustable saddles. If you say, I'm so rich, I always buy new saddles, eventually you get tired of buying every year 1 or 2 saddles.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how rich you are, you like a saddle that's broken into you. And then it's like an old slipper. You don't want to change that. Body work is so important. I mean, there's that can help so much. Farrier, the hoof and horse, we talked about it. Age and condition, and what else should be in there is, of course, environment. Where and how do you keep your horse? So where do I go from here? If you buy a saddle, deering to deering, this is your tree wood. Ask your fitter. We at Schleese here, we never sell any more saddles what cannot be adjusted either by the fitter or by yourself in the tree width, independent from the angle. The angle is where the whip is, from the deering down 4 inches. Okay, so this is a very steep angle. So the angle is not parallel with the shoulder blade. This one here, you see a whip sitting on the shoulder blade, and you see a whip in front of the pipe of the flap. That's the angle. So these shoulder angles match. This doesn't, it digs in the top. This doesn't, it digs in the bottom. So we need to get across to everybody out there who loves their horse, wants to do good. Make sure your saddle fitter shows you how and explains you why This is important that you independently adjust the tree width, which is that, to the tree angle. Okay, and here again, the diagram which we talked about earlier. So if I don't have that, then again, we have all these sidelines. So this is a common one we see. It disappears when I ride, I push on it, it doesn't even hurt the horse. Okay, so on human, if you have a blister on your back of the heel, you know what's going to come.
Yeah.
It hurts, right? Just because the horse doesn't say hour, it doesn't mean that's an issue. Okay? Make sure you check your tree within the tree angle and every other part of the minefield. Ask your fitter, can the saddle be adjusted to the deformity or asymmetry of the horse? If you don't, if you keep riding because you think you're a superstar and you can launch it, the tissue and the skeleton is softer and you will end up with rib subluxation right there. Good luck getting your leg on there. Or vertebrae rotation. Nasty. We talk. This is so sad. This is so often the case. Most manes go to the right. Saddles then go in the back to the right. Horse compensates. And then you have a lateral horse. You not want that. And it's kind of, I do try to scare people. I really want to scare people. I want to wake up people. I want to say, people, you have a choice. You don't need to have the horse. How many Western horses do you see butts like this? Many. Yeah. Because they are like pinching the snot out of the SI joint there. Okay, or the deformity in the back. Okay, because we have often too much pressure under the cantle. Right? I'd rather see a saddle that moves a little bit in the back than doesn't move.
Yeah.
It doesn't move, it just digs into the loin and grinds the snot out of it.
Yeah, so that's awful.
My eyes were changed. And like you said, I believed, like many people, there's only one way. But man, did I learn a lot from these professors, because they did an oath, and their oath from the vets is do no harm. Yeah. They don't care what breed you ride. They don't care if you're German or Americans or Canadians. The horse is a horse. And when these people research horses, they know what it is. And it is all over the world. Here we are in South Africa and South America, and they use all kinds of tools. For me, in South America, one of my top veterinarians who I follow, who has worked in so many different continents and is a top rider, a super short jumper, she makes it very clear. She says, this is like CSI saddle fitting. I say, what do you mean CSI saddle fitting? Well, I got the bones to prove it. Most of these horses I dissected were clients of mine. I know them since they were little foals. I know exactly what saddle, what division, how they rode, what they're training. Okay, I need to know, because how am I going to comment that? So with all this said and done, we need to remember, we all have our heart in terms of, I like dressage, I like Western, I like bareback, I like polo, I like whatever you like. Fact is, we know how it can be long-term damage to the horse if we ride it in the chair seat. Okay, it's if the leg is too far forward, or if you ride. Okay, this is too extreme.
Yeah, he's got like a spear through him.
Yeah, so he's like sleeping, right?
Yeah.
So watching out, right? Horse sleeping, he is sleeping. But you see a lot of old guys, Western riders, with this hunch, right?
Yeah.
So the deformity to the back does never help the horse. And again, don't listen to me. Listen to the experts. You know, if it's people who, like Katja Lange, this is German, but she has been very instrumental in getting saddles out there. And then last not least, the horse doesn't know how to lie. You know, either it has an elevated heart rate or it has uneven steps. So if I have a Fitbit for humans and now I have one for horses, this was the old measurement tool, like we just talked about earlier. Now we got this measurement tool.
Cool.
right? So it's not any more opinion, it's facts and science. And I encourage everybody to get that app. You can enlarge and rotate this.
That's so cool.
Because horse shape is so inexpensive. It's free, right? And you can see my horse changed. Oh gosh, I bet I have my saddle changed. If you want the measurement, they send you this kit and you can put it on the horse. This is how they make their money, right? But if you don't want to spend that money, you don't get that cent, but you can send on the screen already. Whoa, look how
That's
much.
so cool.
Yeah, and you can also put that inside the saddle, right? So that fits in. Look how crooked this. This is upside down the saddle.
Jeez.
See how that dent is there,
Yeah, that's so crazy. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
right? So it's super cool. So there's tons of stuff. When you sent us this, we have the machine what resets it automatic, or the Sapphire. But hopefully you learn from Shelby, myself, like we have learned from medical doctors and veterinarians, because science is science, nature is nature, and horses don't know how to lie. So I hope you find this interesting, and I hope you listen to the horse, because they don't know how to lie. Look at them out
Yeah.
there.
Listen
Right?
to what they say. Yeah.
Well, it was fast half an hour as usual.
Yeah. Thank you
And
so much for doing this again. It's always great information for everyone involved. So I really appreciate it. And hopefully they learn something.
yeah, and as I said, we have lots of stuff on YouTube on our site. Please come and visit us on our website. And we have a huge page on new and used saddles. You don't have to always go new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look,
Youth saddles are a great way to do it.
yeah. Okay, Shelby,
Yeah.
good to see you again.